Okay, Nathan, the time is past 7:26. You could go ahead and send in your response and we'll proceed with the take up. Okay, great. All right, Nathan, can you go ahead and read your response?
On Christmas Eve, you decide to drink some wassail with your family. All the wassels in the living room, so you decide to get them. Suddenly, a strand of golden tinsel stretches across your living room, glowing faintly under the dim holiday lights. You're wondering what it could mean. As you follow the trail, it leads to the attic door that's been locked for as long as you remember. You decide to open it, and gifts inside there, and there's a small music player that hums the first Noel. Tonight, the door is slightly ajar and soft humming seeps out from the darkness beyond. Now you have many presents prepared for you.
Okay, great job with your response. Definitely interesting choice. Going with the second person perspective, not something you see often, but it is something that works with this story. So good job with that. I do want to go over some points of feedback. Okay, let me just paste this the other way. Give me a second. All right, yeah, that should be better. And then if anything, I'll split this up into two. Okay. So strengthen the opening for engagement. Instead of a simple action, so drinking wassail, create a more atmospheric opening that hints at mystery or warmth. For example, you can write, on Christmas Eve, as the fire crackles and laughter dances through the air, you reach for the steaming cup of wassail waiting in the living room. This draws readers in with sensory details. So even crackles, the laughter that dances through the air, it adds to the sense of sound, almost even feeling. Even when you mention fire, it almost gives a feeling of warmth. All of this is great for descriptive writing. Refine the transition to the tinsel. The shift from wassail to tinsel could feel abrupt. Consider adding a smoother lead-in. For example, you can write, as you step towards the kitchen, your eyes catches a flicker of gold, tinsel glinting faintly under the twinkling lights. This creates a gradual and curious transition. Build more suspense and curiosity. Instead of immediately following the tinsel, add internal thoughts or hesitation. You pause, wondering how it got there. The tinsel stretches further, as if beckoning you forward. This adds intrigue and a sense of being guided or lured. Enhance the atmosphere in the attic scene. Describe the attic with sensory language to evoke a stronger mood. The attic door creaks open, revealing a space bathed in soft moonlight, dust swirling in still air. Stacks of forgotten boxes line the walls, but at the center, wrapped gifts sit in quiet anticipation. Clarify the ending for emotional impact. The final line feels rushed. Emphasize the emotional or magical feeling of discovering the gifts. You kneel by the gifts, the soft strains of the first Noel filling the room. As the music hums on, you realize the presents have been waiting, untouched, for this very night. This leaves the reader with a sense of wonder as well as some bit of holiday magic. And Nathan, do you have any questions about the provided feedback?
Mm.
Okay, we'll go ahead and we'll proceed with the short story. Let me just send the link into the chat. So as you can imagine, majority of the reading will be done by you since no one else is in the class at the moment, but that is fine. I don't think the story is too long. I mean, it is a rather bit longer since it's just you reading, but we'll go through the story. If there's any point where you want me to stop or go over any of the concepts, feel free to ask me. And if there's anything I specifically want to go over, I will as well. But in the meantime, we'll just read through the story. I do want to introduce the questions we're going to be taking a look at. That way, you know exactly what evidence you're looking for in the text. The first question is, how does the dream sequence in A Christmas Dream and how it came to be true reflect the protagonist's internal struggles, and what does it reveal about the themes of generosity and self-reflection? And the second question is, if the protagonist had not experienced the dream, how might their actions on Christmas Day have been different? Create an alternative ending where the dream never occurred, and explore how the themes of the stories would change. And there's also another one being assigned for homework, which is, do you think the dream serves as an effective catalyst for personal transformation in the story? So, catalyst is almost like an embodiment, something that's kind of acting as the main object for the idea. Why or why not? Support your arguments with examples of how dreams or visions can influence behavior in literature or real life. Right, so we'll go ahead and take a look at the story. I'll start off by reading it and then I'll let you just take over. So I'll just read up to over here. I'm so tired of Christmas. I wish there never would be another one, exclaimed a discontented looking girl as she sat idly watching her mother arrange a pile of gifts 2 days before they were to be given. Okay, I'm not sure why I can't make this full screen. Okay, better screen. Perfect. Okay. Why, Effie? What a dreadful thing to say. You are as bad as old Scrooge, and I'm afraid something will happen to you, as it did to him, if you don't care for dear Christmas, answered Mamma, almost dropping the silver horn she was filling with delicious candies. Who is Scrooge? What happened to him? Asked Effie with a glimmer of interest in her listless face, as she picked out the sourest lemon drop she could find, for nothing sweet suited her just then. He was one of Dickens' best people, and you could read the charming story someday. He hated Christmas until a strange dream showed him how dear and beautiful it was, and made a better man of him. So they're of course referring to the classic tale of the Christmas Carol. I shall read it, for I like dreams and have a great many curious ones myself. But they don't keep me from being tired of Christmas, said Effie, poking discontentedly among the sweeties for something worth eating. Why are you tired of what should be the happiest time of all of the year? Asked Mamma anxiously. Perhaps I shouldn't be if I had something new. But it is always the same, and there isn't any more surprise about it. I always find heaps of goodies in my stocking. Don't like some of them and soon get tired of those I do like. We always have a great dinner, and I eat too much and feel ill next day. Then there is a Christmas tree somewhere with a doll on top, or a stupid old Santa Claus, and children dancing and screaming over bonbons and toys that break and shiny things that are of no use. Really, Mama, I had so many Christmases all alike that I don't think I can bear another one. And Effie laid herself flat on the sofa, as if the mere idea was too much for her. Her mother laughed at her despair, but was sorry to see her little girl so discontented, when she had everything to make her happy and had known but 10 Christmas days. Suppose we don't give you any presents at all. How would that suit you? Asked Mamma, anxious to please her spoiled child. I should like one large and splendid one, and one dear little one, to remember some very nice person by, said Effie, who was a fanciful little body, full of odd whims and notions which her friends loved to gratify, regardless of time, trouble, or money, for she was the last of the three girls, and very dear to all of the family. All right, so I'm just gonna go right over here, and let me see. All right, you can just read up until eyes and ears, but you're going to be starting from over here. Well, my darling. So right over here.
Uh,
Right here where it's highlighted. Well, my darling. And then I'll just tell you when you can stop reading.
okay. Well, my darling, I see what I can do to please you until all is ready. And if I could only get a new idea to start with, and Mama went on tying her pretty bundles with a thoughtful face, while Effie strolled to the window to watch the rain that kept her indoors and made her dismal. Better times than rich ones. I can't go out and there's a girl about my age splashing along without any maid to fuss around rubbers and cloaks and umbrellas and coats. I wish I was a beggar girl. Would you like to be hungry, cold, and ragged, to beg all day and sleep on an ash heap at night? Said Mamma, wondering what would come next. Cinderella did, and had a nice time in the end. The girl out there has a basket of scraps on her arm and a big old shawl around her, and doesn't seem to care a bit, though the water runs out of the toes of her boots. She goes pounding along, laughing at the rain and eating a cold potato as if it tasted nicer than the chicken and ice cream that I had for dinner. Yes, I do think poor children are happier than rich ones. So do I sometimes. At the orphan asylum today, I saw 2 dozen merry little souls who had no parents, no home, and no hope of Christmas beyond a stick of candy or cake. I wish you had better been there to see how happy they were playing with the old toys some richer children had sent them. You may give them all mine. I'm so tired of them. I never want to see them again, said Effie, turning from the window to the pretty baby house full of everything a child's heart could desire. I will and let you begin something that you will not tire of, if I can only find it. And Mama knit her brows, trying to discover some grand surprise for this child who didn't care for Christmas. Nothing more was said then, and wandering off to the library. If you found a Christmas carol and curling herself up in the sofa corner, read it all before tea. Some of it she did not understand, but she laughed and cried over many parts of the charming story and felt better without knowing why. At all the evening, she thought of poor Tiny Tim, Mrs. Cratchit with the pudding, and the stout old gentleman who danced so gaily that his legs twinkled in the air. Presently, bedtime arrived. Come now and toast your feet, said Effie's nurse, while I do your pretty hair and tell stories. I'll have a fairy tale tonight and a very interesting. I'll have a fairy tale tonight and a very interesting one, commanded Effie as she put her blue silk wrapper and fur-lined slippers to sit before the fire and her long curls brushed. So Nursey told her best tales, and when at last the child laid down ice curtains, her head was full of a curious jumble of Christmas elves, poor children, snowstorms, sugar plums, and surprises. So it is no wonder that she dreamed all night, and this was a dream which she never quite forgot. She found herself sitting on a stone in the middle of a great field all alone. The snow was falling fast, a bitter wind whistled by, and the night was coming on. She felt hungry, cold, tired, and did not know where to go nor what to do. I wanted to be a beggar girl, and now I am one, but I don't like it and wish somebody would come and take care of me. I don't know who I am, and I think I must be lost, thought Effie with the curious interest one takes in oneself in dreams. But the more she thought about it, the more bewildered she felt. Faster fell the snow, colder blew the wind, darker grew the night, and poor Effie made up her mind that she was quite forgotten and left to freeze alone. The tears were chilled on her cheeks. Her feet felt like icicles. Her heart died within her, so hungry, frightened, and forlorn was she. Lying her head on her knees, she gave herself up for lost and sat there with the great flakes fast turning her to a little white mound. And suddenly the sound of music reached her, and starting up, she looked and listened with all her eyes and ears.
Far away, a dim light shone, and a voice was heard singing. She tried to run toward the welcome glimmer, but could not stir, and stood like a small statue of expectation while the light drew nearer, and the sweet words of the song grew clearer. From our happy home, through the world we roam, 1 week in all the year, making winter spring with the joy we bring. For Christmas tide is here. Now the eastern star shines from afar to light the poorest home. Hearts warmer grow, gifts freely flow. For Christmas tide has come. Now gay trees rise before young eyes, abloom with tempting cheer. Blithe voices sing and blithe bells ring. For Christmas tide is here, O happy chime, O blessed time that draws all near. Welcome, dear day, all creatures say, for Christmas tide is here. A child's voice sang, a child's hand carried the little handle, and in the circle of soft light it shed, Effie saw a pretty child coming to her through the night and snow. A rosy, smiling creature, wrapped in white fur, with a wreath of green and scarlet holly on its shining hair, the magic candle in one hand and the other outstretched as if to shower gifts and warmly press all other hands. Effie forgot to speak at this bright vision came nearer, as his bright vision came nearer, leaving no trace of footsteps in the snow, only lighting the way with its little candle and filling the air with the music of its song. Dear child, you are lost, and I have come to find you, said the stranger, taking Effie's cold hands in his. With a smile like sunshine, with every holly berry glowed like a little fire. Do you know me? Asked Effie, feeling no fear, but a great gladness at his coming. I know all children, and go to find them, for this is my holiday, and I gather them from all parts of the world to be merry with me once a year. Are you an angel? Asked Effie, looking for the wings. No, I am a Christmas spirit, and live with my mates in a pleasant place, getting ready for a holiday when we are let out to roam around the world, helping make this a happy time for all who will let us in. Will you come and see how we work? I will go anywhere with you. Don't leave me again, cried Effie gladly. First, I will make you comfortable. That is what we do. You are cold, and you shall be warm, hungry, and I will feed you, sorrowful, and I will make you gay. With the wave of his candle, all three miracles were wrought. For the snowflakes turned to a white fur cloak and hood on Effie's head and shoulders. A bowl of hot soup came sailing to her lips and vanished when she had eagerly drunk the last drop, and suddenly the dismal field changed to a new world, so full of wonders that all of her troubles were forgotten in a minute. Bells were ringing so merrily that it was hard to keep her from dancing. Green garlands hung on the wall, and every tree was a Christmas tree full of toys and blazing with candles that never went out. In one place, many little spirits sewed like mad on worm clothes, churning off work faster than any sewing machine ever invented, and great piles were made ready to be sent to poor people. Other busy creatures packed money into purses and wrote checks which they sent flying away on the wind, a lovely kind of snowstorm to fall into a world below full of poverty. Older and graver spirits were looking over piles of little books in which the records of the past year were kept, telling how different people had spent it and what sort of gifts they deserved. Some got peace, some disappointment, some remorse and sorrow, some great joy and hope. The rich had generous thoughts sent to them, the poor gratitude and contentment. Children had more love and duty to parents, and parents renewed patience, wisdom, and satisfaction for end in their children. No one was forgotten. Please tell me, what splendid place this is, asked Effie as soon as she could collect her wits after the first look at all these astonishing things. Okay, and Nathan, you could continue reading from over here. This is the Christmas world.
This is the Christmas world, and here we work all year round, never tired of getting ready for the happy day. See, these are the saints just setting off, for some have far to go, and the children must not be disappointed. As he spoke, the spirit pointed to four gates, out for which four great sleighs were just driving, laden with toys, while a jolly old Santa Claus sat in the middle of each, crying out on his mittens and tucking up his wraps. Why, I thought there was only one Santa Claus, even when he was a humbug, cried Effie, astonished at the sight. Never give up your faith in the sweet old stones, even after you see pleasant shadow of a lovely truth. Just then sleighs went off with the great jingling of bells of reindeer hoofs, while all the spirits gave a cheer was heard in the lower world where people said, "Hear the stars sing." I never say there isn't any Santa Claus again. Now show me more. You will like to see this place, I think, and may learn something here, perhaps. The spirit smiled as he led the way to a little through which Effie peeped into a world of thoughts. Baby houses were of all sorts going on like life people. Waxen ladies sat their parlors eating hot cooked in the kitchens. Nurses walked out with bits of dollies, and the streets were full of tin soldiers marching, wooden horses prancing, express wagons rumbling, and little men hurrying to and fro. Shops were there, and tiny people buying legs of mutton, pounds of tea, bits of clothes, and everything thus. But presently she saw in some ways the dolls improved upon the manners and customs, eagerly to learn why they did these things. A fine Paris doll driving in her carriage worsted Dinah, who was hobbling along a clean basket of clean carried her to her journey's end as if it were a proper thing to do. Another interesting China lady, red cloak, and put on a poor wooden creature done up in a paper shift and so badly painted that its face would have some babies into fits. Seems to me I once knew a rich girl who didn't give her things to poor girls. I wish I could remember to be as kind as that China doll, said Effie, much touched at the sweet way the pretty creature wrapped up in poor fright and ran off to buy a shiny fowl stuck on a wooden platter for her invalid mother's dinner. You recall these things to people's mind by dreams. I think the girl you speak of won't forget this one. And the smear smiled as if he enjoyed some joke which she did not see. The little bell rang as she looked, and away scampered the children into the red and green schoolhouse with the roof that lifted up. Uh, so no one could see how nicely they sat at their desks with mites of books or drew on the inch square blackboards. Know their lessons very well and are still as still as mice. Make a great racket marks every day. I shall tell their dolls will be better scholars than they are, said Effie, much impressed as she peeped in and saw no rod in the hand of the little mistress, who looked up and shook her head away before the order of the school was disturbed. Effie retired at once. This one look in this window of a fine mansion where the family were at dinner. Children behaved so well at the table, never grumble a bit, for their mamma said they could not have any more food. Now show me something else. To the low door led out of Dollland. You have seen how much we prepare for Christmas. And best to send her good and happy gifts, answered Spirit, giving her his hand again. I know, I've seen ever so many. Think of her own Christmases. No, you never seen what I'll show you. Come away and
Okay. And let's see how much more we have left. Okay. Yeah. Like a flash, that bright world. Okay, give me a second. Like a flash, that bright world vanished, and Effie found herself in a part of the city she had never seen before. It was far away from the gay places where every store was brilliant with lights and full of pretty things, and every house wore a festival air, where people hurried to and fro with merry greetings. It was down among dingy streets where the poor lived, and when there was no making ready for Christmas. Hungry women looked in the shabby shops, longing to buy meat and bread, but empty pockets forbade. Tipsy men drank up their wages in barrooms, and in many cold, dark chambers, little children huddled under thin blankets, trying to forget their misery and sleep. No nice dinners filled the air with savory smells. No gay trees dropped toys and bonbons into eager hands. No little stockings hung in rows beside the chimney piece, ready to be filled. No happy sounds of music, gay voices, and dancing feet were heard, and there were no signs of Christmas anywhere. "Don't they have any in this place?" asked Effie, shivering as she held fast the spirit's hand, following where he led her. "We come to bring it. Let me show you our best workers." And the spirit pointed to some sweet-faced men and women who came stealing into the poorhouses, working such beautiful miracles that Effie could only stand and watch. Some slipped money into the empty pockets and sent the happy mothers to buy all the comforts they needed. Others let the drunken men out of temptation and took them home to find safer pleasures there. Fires were kindled on cold hearths, tables spread as if by magic, and warm clothes wrapped around shivering limbs. Flowers suddenly bloomed in the chambers of the sick. Old people found themselves remembered. Sad hearts were consoled by a tender word, and wicked ones softened by the story of him who forgave all sin. But the sweetest work was for the children, and Effie held her breath to watch these human fairies hang up and fill the stocking, without which a child's Christmas is not perfect, putting in things that once she would have thought very humble presents, but which now seem beautiful and precious because these poor babies had nothing. That is so beautiful. I wish I could make Merry Christmases as these good people do, and be loved and thanked as they are, said Effie softly as she watched the busy men and women do their work and steal away without thinking of any reward but their own satisfaction. You can if you will. I've shown you the way. Try it and see how happy your own holiday will be hereafter. As he spoke, the spirit seemed to put his arms about her and vanished with a kiss. Oh, stay and show me more, cried Effie, trying to hold him fast. Darling, wake up and tell me why you're smiling in your sleep, said a voice in her ear, and opening her eyes, there was Mamma bending over her and morning sunshine streaming into the room. Are they all gone? Did you hear the bells? Wasn't it splendid? She asked, rubbing her eyes and looking around for the pretty child who was so real and sweet. You have been dreaming at a great rate, talking in your sleep, laughing, and clapping your hands as if you were cheering someone. Tell me, what was so splendid? Said Mamma, smoothing the tumbled hair and lifting up the sleepy head. Then, while she was being dressed, Effie told her dream. And Nursey thought it was wonderful, but Mamma smiled to see how curiously things the child had thought, read, heard, and seen through the days were mixed up in her sleep. The spirit said I could work lovely miracles if I tried, but I don't know how to begin, for I have no magic candle to make feasts appear and light up groves of Christmas trees as he did, said Effie sorrowfully. Yes, you have. We will do it. We will do it. And clapping her hands, Mamma suddenly began to dance all over the room as if she had lost her wits. How? How? You must tell me, Mamma, cried Effie, dancing after her and ready to believe anything possible when she remembered the adventures of the past night. I've got it, the new idea, a splendid one, if only I can carry it out. And Mama watched the little girl round till her curls flew wildly in the air, while Nursey laughed as if she would die. Tell me, shrieked Effie. No, it's a surprise. A grand surprise for Christmas Day, sung Mamma, evidently charmed with her happy thought. Now come to breakfast, for we must work like bees if you want to play spirits tomorrow. You and Nursey will go out shopping, and get heaps of things while I arrange matters behind the scenes. They were running downstairs as Mamma spoke, and Effie called her breathlessly. It won't be a surprise, for I know you are going to ask some poor children here and have a tree or something. It won't be like my dream, for they had ever so many trees and more children than we can find anywhere. There will be no tree, no party, no dinner in this house at all, no presents for you. Won't that be a surprise? And Mamma laughed at Effie's bewildered face. Do it. I shall like it, I think, and I won't ask any questions, so it will all burst upon me when the time comes, she said, as she ate her breakfast thoughtfully, for this really would be a new sort of Christmas. All that morning, Effie trotted after Nursey in and out of shops, buying dozens of barking dogs, woolly lambs, and squeaking birds, tiny tea sets, gay picture books, mittens, and hoods, dolls, and candy. Parcel after parcel was sent home, but when Effie returned, she saw no trace of them. Though she peeped everywhere, Nursey chuckled, but wouldn't give a hint and went out again in the afternoon with a long list of more things to buy, while Effie wandered forlornly around the house, missing the usual merry stir that went before the Christmas dinner and evening fun. All right, and Nathan, can you continue reading from over here? As for Mama, Nathan, can you continue reading from here? As for Mama,
Sorry, I was muted.
yeah, no worries.
As all day, I came at night so tired that she could only lie on the sofa to rest, smiling as if pleasant thought made her happy in spite of the weariness. Is a surprise going on all right? Said Effie anxiously, for it seemed the immense time beautifully better than I expected, for several of my good friends are helping, or I wouldn't have done it as I wish. I know you will long remember this way of making Christmas merry. Mama gave her a very tender kiss, and Effie went to bed. The next day was a very strange one, for she woke there's no stocking to examine, no pile of gifts on her napkin, no one said Merry Christmas to her. The dinner was just usual to her. Mama vanished again, and Nursey kept on wiping her eyes and saying, Dear things, it's the prettiest idea I've ever heard of. No one do stop, Nursey, or I shall go crazy because I don't know the secret, cried Effie more than once. She kept on. In the evening, the surprise was to come off. The longed-for hour arrived at last, and the child was too excited to ask questions when Nurse put on her cloak and hood, led her to a carriage, and they drove away, leaving the house, the one dark and silent one in the road. In fact, the girls in the fairy tales who led off to strange places and see fine things, said Effie in a whisper as they jingled through the gay streets. Ah, my dearie, it is a fairy tale, I do assure than most children will tonight. Say now, and do as just as I tell you. Don't say one word, whatever whatever you see," answered Nursey, quite quivering with excitement as she patted a large box in her lap and nodded. We drove into a dark park, and Effie was led through a back door to a little room. Her nurse coolly proceeded to take off not only her cloak and hood, but her dress and shoes also. Hefty stared at her and bit her lips, but kept still until the box came with a white fur coat and boots, a wreath of holly leaves and berry frill gold paper around it. A long "oh" escaped her then, and when she was dressed, she saw herself in the glass, looked back, exclaiming, "Why, Nursey, I look like the spirit in my dream." "So you do, and that's the part you are to play, my pretty. Now whisk, and while I blind your eyes to put you in your place." "Should I be afraid?" whispered Effie, full of wonder. She heard the sound of many voices, the tramp of many feet. In spite of the bandage, was sure when she stopped. "You needn't be. I shall stand close by, and your ma will be there." After the handkerchief was tied about her eyes, Nurse let Effie up some steps and placed her on a high platform where something like leaves touched her head. The soft snap of lamps seemed to fill the air. Music began as soon as Nurse clapped her hands, and voices outside sounded nearer, and the tramp was infinitely coming up the stairs. "Very precious. Look and see you and your dear ma have made a Merry Christmas for them that needed it." Off went the bandage, and for a minute Effie did really think she was asleep again, for she actually stood in a grove of Christmas trees, all gay and shining in her vision. 12 on a side, 2 rows down the bottom, stood the little pines, each one on its low table. Behind Effie, a taller one rose to the roof, hung with wreaths of popcorn, apples, oranges, horns of candy, and cakes of all sorts, from sugary hearts to gingerbread jumbos. On a small tree, those Nursey brought, as well as heaps that seemed to have for Christmas country, where she felt as if she was again. "How splendid! Who is that for? What's the noise? Where's Mama?" cried Effie, pale with pleasure and surprise, as she stood looking down the brilliant little street from her place. Before Nurse could answer, the doors at the lower end flew open, and in March 24, little blue-gowned orphan girls singing sweetly till amazement charged songs of cry and joy and wonder as the shining spectacle appeared. While they stood staring with round eyes at the wilderness and pretty things around them, Mama stepped up beside Effie, holding her hand fast to give her courage, and told of the story of the dream in few simple words ending this way. "So my little girl wanted to be a Christmas spirit too. Make this day happy for those who had not have many pleasures and comfort as she was. She likes surprises, and we planned this for you all. She shall play the good fairy. Each of you give something from this tree, after which everyone will find her own name on a small tree and can go enjoy it on her own way. March by, my dears, and let us fold your hands." Nobody told them to do it, but all the hands were clapped heartily before a single child stirred. Then one by one they looked wonderingly at the pretty giver of the feast, which she leaned down to offer with great yellow oranges, red apples, bunch of grapes, bonbons, and cakes till they are all gone. A double row of smiling faces her, turned toward her as the children filed back to their places in the orderly way which they had been taught. Then each was led to her own tree by the good ladies who had helped Mama with all their hearts. A happy hubbub that arose would have satisfied even Santa Claus himself. Shrieks of joy, dances of delight, laughter, and tears for some tender little things could not bear so much pleasure at once. A saw with mouths full of candy and hands full of toys. How they ran to show one another their new treasures. How they peeped and tasted, pull and pinch, till the air was full of queer noises, the floor covered with papers, the lower trees left bare all but candles. I don't think heaven can be any gooder than this, sighed one small girl as she looked about her in a blissful maze, holding her full apron in one hand while she luxury carried sugar plums to her mouth with the other. Is that a truly angel up there? Asked another, fascinated by the little white figure on the wreath of his shining hair when some mysterious way had been the cause of all this merrymaking. I wish I dared to go kiss her for this splendid hardy, said a lame child, leaning on her crutch as she stood near the steps, wondering how it seemed to sit in a mother's lap, as Effie was doing, and she watched this happy scene before her. Effie heard her and, remembering Tiny Tim, ran up her arms about the pale child, kissing the wistful face as she said sweetly, "You may, but Mama deserves the thanks. She did it all, and I only dreamed about it." Lane Katie felt as if a truly angel was embracing her, and if she could only stammer out her thanks, while the other children ran to see the pretty spirit touch her soft dress until she stood in a crowd of blue gowns, laughing as they held up their gifts to see and admire. Mama leaned down and whispered one word to the older girls, and suddenly they took hands to dance around Effie, singing as they skipped.
It was a pretty sight, and the ladies found it hard to break up the happy revel. But it was late for small people, and too much fun is a mistake. So the girls fell into a line and marched before Effie and Mama again, to say goodnight with such grateful little faces that the eyes of those who looked grew dim with tears. Mama kissed everyone, and many a hungry, childish heart felt as if the touch of those tender lips was their best gift. Effie shook so many small hands that her own tingled, and when Katie came, she pressed a small doll into Effie's hand, whispering, "You didn't have a single present, and we had lots. Do keep that. It's the prettiest thing I got." "I will," answered Effie, and held it fast until the last smiling face was gone, the surprise all over, and she safe in her own bed, too tired and happy for anything but sleep. "Mama, it was a beautiful surprise, and thank you so much. I don't see how you did it, but I like it the best of all Christmases I ever had, and I mean to make one every year. I had my splendid big present, and here's the little one to keep for love of poor Katie." So even that part of my wish came true. And Effie fell asleep with a happy smile on her lips, her one humble gift still in her hand, and a new love for Christmas in her heart that never changed through a long life spent in doing good. All right, so this brings us back to the activities. We'll start off with the first question. How does the dream sequence in A Christmas Dream and how it came to be true reflect the protagonist's internal struggles? And what does it reveal about the themes of generosity and self reflection? We'll work on this question for about 10 minutes. And before we get started, Nathan, do you have any questions about this activity?
No.
Okay, right now the time is 8:05. We'll work on this until 8:15. If you do have any questions, feel free to ask me at any point. Okay, Nathan, I'm just going to give you one more minute to finish up with your response and then we'll proceed with the take up. Okay, Nathan, can you go ahead and read your response?
Effie is spoiled and she's bored of all her. She has a dream about being a poor girl, how spirit helped her. So for this Christmas, her mom decides to make her a spirit. Effie really enjoyed it because she had a chance to be generous, and that is what made the children happy. She learned to love Christmas and
Okay, good job with your response. I just want to go over some points of improvement. Okay, no, that's not what I meant to paste. Give me a second. All right, just paste this onto its own slide. Okay, so I'm just going to paste this in and then we'll proceed with points of improvement. So expand on Effie's internal struggles. You can emphasize on how Effie's boredom stems from a deeper sense of emptiness and a lack of fulfillment. Highlight that her dislike for Christmas reflects dissatisfaction with materialism. Clarify the role of the dream. Explain how the dream serves as a turning point, confronting Effie with realities of poverty and prompting empathy. Connect the spirit and the dream to Effie's subconscious desire for purpose. Strengthen theme of generosity. Focus on how Effie's transformation underscores the joy of giving and how generosity enriches both the giver and the receiver. Show that helping others restores Effie's love for Christmas. Refine language and flow. Use more precise and vivid language to describe Effie's emotional growth. Ensure smooth transitions between Effie's dissatisfaction, the dream, and her newfound appreciation for Christmas. All right, and we'll move on to the next question and we'll work on this until the end of class. So until 8:28, and then we'll take it up and proceed with the homework and writing assignments. So this question is, if the protagonist had not experienced the dream, how might their actions on Christmas Day have been different? Create an alternative ending where the dream never occurred and explore how the themes of the story would change. And Nathan, do you have any questions about the second activity? Nathan, do you have any questions about the second activity? Okay, I'm assuming you're good to go. If you do have any questions at any point, feel free to ask me. I'll just stay on this slide and we'll take up this activity again at 8:28.
even do you type out my others like how I can improve or
Pardon me, I wasn't completely, you were kind of cut out over there. Can you please repeat the question?
do you make all of like my reviews or like how I can improve on my writing? Do you make them by yourself?
No, no, honestly speaking, just because of the time provided, no. I don't make them by myself, but rather my goal is to kind of review your work, give you the feedback as fast as possible. So if we're looking at it in terms of efficiency, it's almost impossible, especially with all the students. Like since this is one-on-one, I'm able to go into a more specific breakdown, but in general, I use certain like tools that I've been paying for subscription wises, and that's practically the tools that I use in terms of the feedback that I provide you.
Hmm.
Yeah. And Nathan, do you have any other questions?
No.
Okay. So we'll proceed with the take up at 8:28. Okay, and Nathan, the time is 8:28. Let me just check. Okay, you're still continuing with your response. I'm just going to go over the homework and the feedback. So, okay, I know this says bring a book, but this was supposed to be from last week. Just going to read the remainder of your creative writing activity. And then the question below is being assigned for homework. Again, I'll go over the question. Do you think the dream serves as an effective catalyst for personal transformation in the story? Why or why not? Support your argument with the examples of how dreams or visions can influence behavior in literature or real life. And the writing assignment is an essay on commercialism in Christmas. So analyze how commercialism influences modern Christmas celebrations and reflect on whether this shift benefits or harms the holiday's original meaning. Christmas has become one of the most commercialized holidays. How does this affect the way it is celebrated? Is commercialism a positive or a negative force for the holiday's traditions and values? Instructions, research, and sources explore the history of Christmas and how commercialism plays a role today. Use at least two credible sources. The essay should have an introduction which is about 100 to 150 words. The body paragraph should in total be about 400 to 600 words. So almost about 200 words each body paragraph. And the conclusion should be also 100 to 150 words. In total, the total length should be about 600 to 900 words. I know this is no more than 500 words. Instead, it should be no more than 1,000 words. Okay, and okay, honestly, I'm just going to bring this countdown. We'll just keep this at 500. And we'll just keep this at 500 as well. Okay, and Nathan, before, oh, okay, yeah, I forgot. Nathan, can you go ahead and read your response? All right, Nathan, I see that you're still writing. Honestly, you can continue working on this after class, and I'll just check in to see your work, and then I'll give some feedback based off it. I'll probably check in maybe 10 minutes after class. Right now, the time is 8:30, so I'm going to go ahead and dismiss the class. I hope you have a great Christmas ahead of you. Bye.